reservoirs of courage, tenacity, and fortitude. In the process, some died, and some lived. But through their struggles, they each touched at the very heart of what it means to be human. They found a fire inside that goes far beyond the physical. I hope that this book serves as a reminder that this spirit and glowing ember lives deep within us all. It just sometimes takes a little coaxing into flame. I hope that these stories will inspire you to be that little bit braver and that little bit stronger when your time of testing comes around. And remember, as Winston Churchill once said, when you're going through hell, keep going. But for now, sit back and let me introduce you to my heroes.
Nando Parrado, The Taste of Human Flesh. This wasn't heroism or adventure. This was hell. Nando Parrado. For 22-year-old Nando Parrado, it was only ever meant to be a pleasant family trip. He played for a Uruguayan rugby team who had chartered a flight to Santiago in Chile for an exhibition match. He'd asked his mother, Eugenia, and his sister, Susie, if they wanted to come along on the journey, one that meant flying over the Andes in a twin-engine turboprop. Flight 571 took off on Friday the 13th of October, 1972, and a few of the guys joked that this wasn't the best day to be flying over a mountain range that can harbour difficult and dangerous weather for pilots. Hot air rises from the foothills and hits cold air at the snowline. The resulting maelstrom is bad news for aircraft. But their jokes were just that, jokes, because the weather reports looked fine. Weather, though, has a habit of changing very quickly in the mountains, and especially in these mountains. The plane had been in the air just a couple of hours when the pilot was forced to land in the town of Mendoza in the foothills of the Andes. They overnighted there. Next day, the pilots were in two minds as to whether they should continue the journey. Their passengers wanted to get to their rugby match. They put pressure on the pilots to fly, which turned out to be a very bad move. The turboprop was flying over the Planchon Pass when the turbulence hit. 4 sharp bumps. Some of the guys cheered like they were riding on a roller coaster. Nando's mother and sister looked frightened. They were holding hands. Nando himself opened his mouth to reassure them, but the words didn't come as the plane suddenly dropped several hundred feet. Nobody was cheering anymore. The plane was shuddering violently. Some of the passengers started to scream. Nando's neighbour, who was sitting by the window, pointed outside. Less than 10 meters from the wingtip, Nando could see the mountainside, a huge wall of rock and snow. His neighbour asked if they should be so close, his voice trembling with dread. Nando didn't answer. He was too busy listening to the horrible shrieking of the engines as the pilots desperately tried to gain height. The whole plane was shaking so badly, it felt like it was going to break apart. Nando caught the terrified glances of his mother and sister. And then it happened. A violent shudder. An awful grinding sound as metal twisted against rock. The plane had hit the mountainside. It was being ripped to bits. Nando looked up. He didn't see the top of the fuselage. He saw open sky. He felt cold air on his face and saw clouds in the gangway. There was no time to pray, no time even to think. He felt a tremendous force ripping him from his seat, a violent, deafening noise all around. Nando Parrado must have been sure he was about to die a grisly, painful, terrifying death. Then he was plunged into darkness. Nando was unconscious for 3 days after the crash, so he didn't see some of the injuries his companions sustained. One man had been stabbed in the stomach by a steel tube. When his friend tried to remove it, a length of oozing intestine emerged from his gut. Another man's calf muscle had torn away from the bone, then twisted about his shin. The leg bone itself was open to the air. His friend had to squash the muscle back in place before bandaging it up. One woman had been crushed in a pile of seats that nobody could untangle. Her legs were broken, and she was yelling in agony. There was nothing that anyone could do, except leave her to die. Nando's head had swollen.